everybody. Our first guest tonight is an Emmy-winning producer, actor, and entrepreneur. You know from his work in The Proposal, Free Guy, the Deadpool franchise, and Welcome to Wrexham. He produced the new documentary, John Candy, I Like Me, which premieres Friday on Prime Video. Please welcome back to the show our friend Ryan Reynolds, everybody. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
It's been a long time since you've been here, but we've been lucky enough to interact. You were a huge supporter of the Strike Force 5 podcast.
That is true.
Even being a guest on it. And but you've loved late night, not this late night, but the genre.
Yeah, everything but you.
Everything but me.
No, I've always loved late night. Yeah, it's always been a thing. Like it was where my dad was common ground with my dad. It was we watched Carson together, and you know, not Jack Parr. I was still swimming around in him at that age. But yeah, I enjoyed. Yeah,
I never met Carson, but you crossed paths.
I crossed paths, no joke, in an elevator in 1 week with Johnny Carson and Johnny Cash.
Wow. So this was a ways back. You were probably pretty fresh-faced at the time.
I was but a cheek of tan and lock of gold, just a little baby. And I don't know, they both passed shortly after. I may have caused that. I don't know.
If there was a third, I would maybe ask some follow-ups.
Yeah, I think so for sure. Yeah. Any other Johnny. But yeah, I know.
They call you the Reaper of the elevator,
this is
right?
What they do.
Yeah.
This is exactly what they do. It was in Beverly Hills, that little doctor area where everyone goes for the. So yeah, who knows?
Did you say hello to either of them when you were in an elevator with them?
No, but like, what is like a 19-year-old moron from Canada going to do when Johnny Carson walks in? You don't go hello, and he's like, yes, nice to meet you, Ryan.
Well, you certainly
don't know what Johnny Carson. Do you guys really know Johnny Carson?
Now, I do, and I want to have their backs for a second.
Well, it's that, like, well, who used to do all the Johnny Carson?
Dana Carvey did the best.
Yeah, that's wild and wacky.
Wild,
yeah, it's like
you should have done that for him. I think he would have been pretty psyched.
He would have loved. No one.
Now let's hear your Johnny Cash.
My Johnny. Yeah, I know.
Oh, that's better.
I haven't got. No. I don't have that.
Speaking of you know, fresh-faced Canadian, you were just honored. In your home country.
Yes.
And this is lovely. Explain what's going on here. This was the order. What is the
Order of Canada?
The Order of Canada.
Yeah,
that's a big deal.
So this is Officer of the Order of Canada is what it's called. And it is a big deal. It's a huge, you know, for me, it's as high as an honor you'll ever achieve. And that is the Governor General Mary Simon right there. Her Excellency, as you would say. And it was an incredible day. We were in Ottawa, Canada, July 1st, which is Canada Day.
Yep.
It was 1,000% humidity, 155,000 degrees. And they put us in the middle of this sort of pit, and it was like a kind of heat I'd never quite experienced. It was like we were sitting inside Alec Baldwin in the middle of like a fit of some kind, and we were meant to stay there for an hour. And Canadians are very much like by the book, like dot the I's, cross the T's.
Yeah.
So they said you have to sit and stay there. There's going to be an hour of singing and poetry, and then the ceremony will begin. And I was like 10 minutes in. I was like, oh, we're all going to die here.
Yeah.
Like, and I wore a blue shirt, which was an idiotic thing to do, and a tan suit. And
this is a photo just to give people a sense. Like that was not. That's. And like and they would like, you know, again, not to stereotype Canadians, but people would just die before they complained.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Except one guy, Bruce Oak, who's sitting behind me. He was also being honored. He sits down like 2 minutes before the ceremony is supposed to start, and I've been sitting kind of like this the whole time, trying to avoid my shirt touching my actual skin, because if it does, it's going to do that.
Yeah.
Where I would be drier if I jumped in the ocean. But he sits down behind me, and I go, Bruce, what are you doing? I thought we weren't allowed to leave. He's like, oh, it's life-threateningly hot out here, Ryan. I went in the back where the air conditioning was, and I was like, what? Well, hold on. And I was like, I can't go like this. I'm a meme. This is gonna be the. So I just bolt. And I'm running past Prime Minister Mark Carney. There, and I knew him before, and I'm like, give me your shirt, Carney. And he's like, no. And I run to the back and I find a white shirt.
You did,
and I
so you
get
actually switched
slipped
out of that.
Yeah, that right there is
Okay.
might be a dancer's shirt who did a little dance.
And then there was the dance performance later. There was one conspicuously shirtless dancer.
Guy, kettlebell nipple rings, and just crushing it out there.
That's the pin that I often. That's the Lorne
one.
Michaels wears that pin. That's a big deal for Canadians.
Lauren was the one who said, Ryan, you've got to wear your pin. You can't, anytime you're out.
Yeah, he really likes this pen.
Yeah.
Last time you were here, you had just started your family. I was just about to.
Mm-hmm.
You, the one difference, you have 4, and you went girl, 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 boy.
Right.
We went boy, boy, girl. And I will say, I think that's less jarring than what just happened to you.
It is.
When you start with girls and then have a boy, I can't even imagine.
I don't, we live in a very, there's nothing violent in our home. There's nothing, that kid came out with 3 things on his mind. It was violence, breasts, and engines.
Yeah.
And I really don't understand where this comes from. And I can't, if I had 3 boys at first, I would never, there's no way.
Yeah.
I would give myself a punching vasectomy. It's hard, there's no way I would allow that to happen. So, yeah, 3 girl, just so easy. And then just the boy who's gotta break everything.
Do the girls collectively feel like it's an HR issue that you've added a boy to the family?
I do.
Yeah.
I don't. I am in direct competition with this young man.
Yeah.
No, he's. It's a little I'm the youngest of 4 boys, and boy, do I feel for my mom. You know, I really do. My dad, but my mom, really. When I was 8, I'm not making this up. I knew how to patch drywall. That right there says a lot.
Yeah.
I knew how to get literally a hole in the wall. I could repair that in less than 6 minutes before my dad got home. Perfectly. Spackle, sand, and paint, we're good.
Wow.
Yeah.
That means it must have happened so many times for you to be so good at it.
Do you know how many times my brothers had me exit a room not through the door?
Yeah.
I was a moving target that they would use. You know how cops, when they break into the place with that battering ram? That was my
You were
head.
the ram.
I was the ram, yeah.
Unbelievable. This is, I do not care for how you were treated.
No, thank you very much.
I want to ask about your wonderful documentary. We're going to be right back
Please,
with more from Ryan Reynolds.
John's performance style was extroverted, and he had a great need to connect.
Hello, I'm Mr. Mambo.
If you think of Monty Python, you think of Second City, you think of Saturday Night Live, he was one of the top performers out of all of them.
And John, who could not hide his frame, when he would be doing Julia Child or he would be doing Pavarotti, the only time you saw a big man doing stuff like that was Jackie Gleason or Lou Costello. It had to be literally a guy making jokes about his size, and he simply didn't.
Welcome back, everybody. We're here with Ryan Reynolds. That was a clip from the new documentary, John Candy, I Like Me. He is another, he's a Canadian icon, legend.
Yep.
And what was your first introduction to John Candy when you were a kid?
Oh, SCTV,
Yeah.
for sure. He did Second City Television. It was truly a work of art. And also, it really spoke to what I think is a bit of a problem today, which is perfectionism is a disease.
Yeah.
And there on SCTV, there was genius, there was weird, and there was bad, all at once. And people, they really understood, in order to be great at something, you have to be willing to kind of be bad at first. And I love that. And nowadays, we live in this super curated kind of world, and we're all so afraid to suck at something. Even my own kids, I'm make mistakes, just don't waste them. But and then these guys did it basically on the air.
It was deliciously shaggy, and you never thought
so good.
You never saw budget.
No.
And that I feel in a nice way makes you relax as an audience. You're oh, this is great. They're just going to make it work with what they have.
When I interviewed Colin Hanks, did the lion's share of these interviews, and he was really incredible at really making people feel at ease and open to talk about John. I did the interviews for Bill Murray, who there's an entire documentary about trying to get an interview with Bill Murray.
Yeah.
I was but I just kept at it. Finally got it. And then Dan Aykroyd. But Dan Aykroyd said that the guys, when they were on SNL, they were jealous of SCTV because it was taped.
Yeah.
They could edit it. And
Yeah.
I was I thought it would be the opposite. And Dan was impossible to get a hold of or find anywhere. And when I did finally, it took me 2 months. When I did finally track him down, he called me and he said, "I'll tell you what, kid. You come up here, you have dinner with me, you spend the night, Next morning, we'll do the interview, you get the out. I was like, no problem. You got it, Dan. I'll be there.
It's wonderful watching the documentary because I think your first instinct when you think about John is think about what a funny comedian is, but also like I Like Me is that's from Planes, Trains, and Automobile, which is like one of those movies that I don't care how many times you watch it, the emotional resonance of it never wanes, and it really he is the heart of that.
Yeah.
And he really was a fantastic dramatic actor.
Yeah, and it really shows you his, how he was kind of, Mel Brooks says, to take someone like that from us that's so young, it was a sin, and it really was. Like he's 43 years old when he passed away. He lost his dad when he was 5. He had a son, Chris Candy, who's on the tour with us, talking a little bit about John Candy here and there, and he was 5 too when he lost his dad, and he was really hadn't even I'm 48. I feel like I am just starting still, So it really was a tragedy. But Planes, Trains, I feel like if that were out today, he would be nominated for an Oscar.
I think that's right.
Such a beautiful performance, and that line, "I like me." My wife likes me. My customers like me. The way he says it, it's like no other human being on earth could have done that justice.
Well, because I think you did, your expectation of him was always because there was something about the warmth in his face. You're like, oh, this guy's here to make me laugh. Yeah. And so when he switches gears and can do the other, I think that's when you're sort of in awe of him. It's funny because Bill Murray sort of says in the beginning, I wish I had something negative to tell you about him.
Oh my God.
And he's and he goes on, I hope you can find somebody who will tell you something negative about him.
Yeah.
And you could not.
Bill Murray, when he first, my first conversation with him was we got in basically an argument because it was like I answer the phone and he just starts in with, hey Ryan, who would you say is the godfather of the spit take? I'm just like, well, I don't know. We got this argument whether it was Desi Arnaz or Danny Thomas.
Right.
He's like, when I finally did it, he was like, wrong, Danny Thomas, click. But he's right, it was Danny Thomas, although arguably Desi might have done it first. But, he said, you can't do a documentary on John Candy. He was unimpeachable. He never did anything wrong. He never did anything bad, except one thing. You're like, yeah. Save it for the show. Save it for and he did. It was great.
And obviously Steve, Marty Short, so many of his cast members. I'm assuming that people, it's both hard to talk about somebody that they lost, but also you can see how much they enjoy sharing how much he meant to them.
Well, John was a guy he was a good person when nobody was watching, and that. I mean, that speaks volumes to someone's character, and I think that really means that authenticity came through. But people really, I think they missed him. And they continue to miss him, but they didn't really realize it, like general audiences. So, when I even say we're doing a documentary on John Candy, it's like you told them you're going to show them a peek into an old friend, like somebody you grew up with, and I feel like that about John. You know? I mean,
I think there's a closeness. I think all his audience have with him.
Man. I mean, that Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. at one point I had memorized. I mean. Even at home, my 6-year-old, I'm not proud of this, but my 6-year-old, she's very funny, but I'll go, one of the lines from it where I'll say, welcome to Marathon, how may I help you? And then Steve Martin, basically the whole reason the movie's rated R is for this one speech.
Yeah.
He just goes, you can start by wiping that smile off your rosy cheeks, and you can give me a automobile. And then he just goes on and on and on with the F-bombs. And my daughter, I have three lines in. I'm like, let's not, Mommy's gonna walk in any second now. Let's just
a very funny way to pay tribute to a movie like this. He's reading a book, The Canadian Mounted. Is that a book Deadpool also reads?
Yes,
everything.
Movie.
And I did not realize. That's the burned out LeBaron.
There is the burned out Chrysler, the 1986 Chrysler LeBaron Town and Country, or as in the movie, it's the Grand Detroit, as they call it, to not get sued. Which ironically takes place in a movie where I call the Honda Odyssey their answer to antibiotic-resistant gonorrhea. Which I guess you don't get sued if you say something like that. Or if they did get sued, it was Disney, not us. But yeah, it was, I put them everywhere in the movie.
Very nice tribute. Also, Wrexham, 5th season going on right now. Congratulations on that.
Thank you very much.
In the championship, is that your division, the championship now?
Yeah, we're in the championship
You're one
league.
tier beneath the Premier League.
One step from the Premier League. And honestly, it's wild. There's two things about it that I think are really remarkable, which is the first thing and the most important is that people in Wrexham, 5 years ago when we got there, they wouldn't really even say Wrexham. They just said, if you said, where are you from? They would say North Wales. And now they say, I'm from Wrexham.
Yeah.
Like, they love it. And I'm just like, I love that.
Yes.
And so, yeah, the show, Welcome to Wrexham, is shooting its 5th season right now. Wrexham, the club, the football club, is in its 167th season.
Yeah.
So it's one of the oldest, third oldest in the world. And it's, it was promoted 3 times in a row, which is history. No one's ever done that in the sport, which is good and bad because, like, literally, Rob and I are watching us get promoted, and we're like, well, we're going to have to now rent our mouths out to oligarchs or something. Like, this is crazy. Like, as we walked off the field, they literally started rolling the field up because a heated one needs to go down.
Of course, yeah.
To play in that kind of league. So it's been transformative, though, for the town in every way. Like, it's just imbued the town with a kind of like positivity that wasn't there. I mean, they lost, coal and steel and all that sort of post-Thatcherism kind of sadness that was there. It's gone, and it's like this vibrant community that is an amazing place to visit.
Well, you and Rob have done an amazing thing because you've let that fan base become the star of the show, and I think that is the most lovely thing about it. And I mean, continued success. Congrats on this lovely documentary as well, and thank you for coming back.
Hey,
on the
thank
show.
you so much.
You guys, Ryan Reynolds, John Candy, I Like Me premieres Friday on Prime Video. Be right back with Amelia Jones.